Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning, Dan.
Hello.
Pop this up. All right, the meeting's open. We got a couple people in. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll wait one more minute. 9:05, we'll get started as people are trickling in. Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started? Can I get a confirmation? Can people hear me on the line and see the presentation?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Excellent.
Be great.
Cool. Thank you everybody for joining us for our monthly Urban Computing Foundation Technical Advisory Committee meeting. Standard antitrust policy. The agenda that we've organized and planned for this meeting is exciting because we're moving into some project presentations. So Javier from Carto, I believe, is going to present on Carto's technology. And we also have Isaac Zhang here from, to present on Map3. So I think that we'll jump in and have that as like the core part of the agenda, and then wrap up towards the end of the meeting, just with like housekeeping, touch on some of the upcoming events we have planned, and if there's time, some open discussion about what we want to see out of this meeting in the future and what future agenda topics people may have. So with that, Javier, I see you on the line. Are you prepared to join the Zoom and or take over the screen share and present on Carto today?
Yep, all good. So I do think I need presenting right. Oh, no, because you are presenting, so I think you have to stop yours before I can stop presenting mine.
Okay, I've stopped mine.
All right, so let me actually here. Oh, let me know if you guys see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, all right. Well, first of all, thank you very much, everybody. pleasure to be here. So I got this presentation, and I don't know, I mean, like how much time we want to call, like, spend. There's a few demos also there in case you guys are interested, but yeah, why don't we get started? So I don't know how many of you know Carto, so it's a little bit of a generalistic call presentation, just so to give you a little bit of who we are and, you know, what is our interest and what are the projects that we're working on. And finally, I will finalize with a little bit of what is our interest in the Urban Computing Foundation and, you know, how we think that we can collaborate with you guys. So with that, maybe a little bit, just a little bit of an intro. So I'm Javier de la Torre. I'm the founder of Carto, now Chief Strategy Officer. So my background is on what we call biodiversity informatics. So it's about figuring out where species are, how they're going to get affected by climate change. And that's where my interest on everything around mapping and location really started. So I was doing spatial modeling for figuring out where the distribution of species, how where to place new protected areas and things like that. I was on the course of that essentially I started developing some technology that eventually became a framework and eventually became a company, which at the beginning was called Carto, and now it's called Carto. So, so a little bit of, you know, like there's an intro about, you know, what Carto is. We call it an integrated platform for location intelligence. What we really are trying is to enable organizations to liberate the spatial analytics to improve their business process. And we know that, you know, that means actually working with different type of audiences. So we work a lot with data scientists, call them spatial data scientists. So we have specific products for that. We work also with data analysts who are first kind of like coming to the geospatial world, mostly known with GIS backgrounds. And finally, with developers, we have a network of partners that utilize our technology for developing multiple sources of projects. So that's a little bit, you know, all together in the pieces. I'll go more in detail, but, you know, just for you guys to get an idea of who are kind of like the type of users that we're working. A little bit also as a background. So we started in 2012. We have around 1,200 customers. We have a free version on our product that is now subscribed by 300,000 people, and we are a company of around 140 people. Most of the engineering and development happens in Spain, where I am from Madrid, but we have a pretty remote team. Then, I mean, I will commercialize all over the world, where it's our biggest market being United States, where our headquarters is. So I'm in actually New York. So you'll find me traveling a lot, most of the time here in New York. So for those who've maybe heard of Carto before, a little bit of on the history of the company. So we started in 2012, I guess like coming out of a research project around biodiversity. And kind of like, you know, like we defined 3 different phases in the company. So started in 2012 with the vision of post-GIS on the cloud. So we liked a lot post-GIS, and we thought, you know, it was just too hard to actually develop projects and do analysis with it at the scale. So, so kind of like I just put the tags that we used to use after our name. So we were saying that we were post-GIS on the cloud. Then from 2014, we saw like the opportunity. A lot of our users were using us for actually creating maps. So we start talking more about like democratizing maps, but under the hood, really, we were still like an analytics platform, which is really where you see us more focused now, which is around spatial analytics. So it's about enabling organizations to perform analysis with their location data and the data that we provide. Why did we start all this? A lot of this will be very familiar to you guys. There's kind of like a revolution going on right now with new sources of data coming available. There's new form of analysis that, you know, like this type of data enables. And more important for us, it's also what we call a new audience, new end users. So kind of like the space around geospatial analytics is just kind of like expanding, and there's never been a bigger demand for many organizations to start kind of like applying it, right? So we think that actually provides an opportunity for the creation of a platform like that. Very often we get asked about this, about like difference what we call between where and why. So very often you're like, you get like companies talk about like, if they want to know where they're sending more a particular product. This is kind of like getting democratized a lot through the BI vendors. So you're likely using something like Tableau. But if you want to create a model to characterize the places and, you know, and actually figure out and predict, you know, like where's the likelihood of a customer to buy your product, then you're going to need something like Carto, right? And that's the space that, you know, like how we separate in there. There's a lot of people are still kind of like making the questions about where. There's not that many people yet kind of like asking why. And that's what we're really trying to change. Also as a little bit of, you know, like context. So just for you guys to get an idea of how we talk about these things. So we're trying to position really a spatial modeling as another type of machine learning. Although technically, I mean, we can discuss a lot about this, But for the general awareness, this is like something that we like our customers and users to understand that like there is a spatial type of analysis which is around spatial analytics. It's based on some fundamentals that if you're not taking in consideration, if your data has a strong location color bias, which in lot of cases it does, you are missing out. There's a lot of this, your models could perform better if you take in consideration a spatial modeling. So that's kind of like the way that you look at it. How do we do this? So we have essentially four main components. And I'll see if we have time to give you a little bit of a demo of a few of them. The first one, the foundations, we have a project called Carto Data Observatory, where we aggregate data from many different sources and make it available to our platform in the different ways that you will see later. We work with a number of providers. I think some of them are actually here in the foundation. And yeah, essentially we provide an easy access to that data. We aggregate it, we transform it, we create derivative data sets out of it, essentially with the goal of make it easier to actually create those spatial models that we were talking about. So that's kind of like the data foundation of it. Then the three kind of main products is Carto. There is, I think there's a lot of background noise from someone. So there is Carto Frame. So essentially it's a library to essentially perform a spatial analysis on using Python notebooks. I'd like to show you a little bit more about that. So it has integrated visualization capabilities, but also analytics capabilities. It talks to our cloud infrastructure, so you can perform analysis with scales, etc. Then we have Carto Builder, which is a user interface, pretty similar to DEC-DL, to Kepler DL, with the objective to enable data analysts to perform spatial analysis that are simple, just with that drag and drop interface. Under the hood is using the same technology. And finally, Carto Engine is the APIs and SDKs that we may expose as part of our platform that some of our customers use for developing their own their custom applications or to embed the analysis or the applications they're building, the maps into their own products. That's pretty much like the four main areas, right? Yeah, so I just thought it would be good, to kind of give you guys a little bit of a demo. So Carto works as a software as a service on the cloud. So it's a cloud service. You can run it on, we can run it for you as a cloud service, or you can run it as an on-prem commercially. So or you can just download the open source version. I'm just gonna show you here a little bit, like Carto Builder. So this is where you actually can manage your data sets under the hood. There's PostGIS with a lot of connectors to different things. We improve it in many different things. You also can create like maps. Here you can get API keys and things like that. So I'm just gonna open this one, for example. And you can see you have like classical editor in here where, you can essentially kind of modify, the styles of the map. There's, you can perform analysis on those type of layers. Under the hood, all of this is just running under the same APIs that are available for everybody. But just here exposed in a simple way. There's also here the possibility to do enrichment based on some of those data sources that I was meaning. You can create filters. You can create different widgets and all this type of goodies that you can think of, right? So and then finally you can serve this visualization, or you can build an application based on this type of interface that you've created. So that's Carto Builder. Just wanted to also show you, I have it here, also the Carto Frames. So sorry, I thought I had it. I thought I had it open. 1 second. So Carto Frames it really is a library mostly considered to be used with Python notebooks. I'm just going to open it here in Binder. And it provides you with certain capabilities, like I said, for visualization. So you have, you can create maps out of there, share them with others, using the same underlying technologies. But then also it has capabilities to persist the data on Carto, run a spatial SQL, using PostGIS. You can run spatial type of analysis, and you can access all the data that I was talking on Data Observatory. This might take a while, so I've opened it before. But yeah, it was just a little bit of an example I wanted to show you guys here. Maybe not, I could just, that's not going to, that's the previous one, I should have opened it before. Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. And then there's the APIs and SDKs that you can like just read on our website. Sorry, just didn't demo this. Can go back. More. All right. So I said, also to explain a little bit our open source and data strategy. So we started from the beginning being an open source company. So it means that the majority of our software is open source. So the entire platform actually can be downloaded and can be used, can be contributed on GitHub. There's certain pieces that we are not open sourcing, like those that we consider, will just only provide essentially like competitiveness to our like service that we provide. So, for example, we have a scalability of the infrastructure on the cloud, so those type of things, connectivity to external databases, that's kind of like enterprise type of functionalities, a certain type of spatial algorithms that we keep, for ourselves and for our customers. And then on the data part, although we support a very strong public data, open data type of repo that is freely available, we also have like this commercial data providers connected to our platform, which obviously we don't provide for free, and we also create derivative data sets that from those providers. So think about like someone like MasterCard will give us information about like credit card transactions, like aggregates, and we will transform that into other forms of information that can be used for modeling. And of course, we are under the hood. PostGIS is, I wouldn't say PostgreSQL is anymore our database. It really is almost our development framework right now, because we have a lot of connectivity to a lot of databases. So you might be using Carto without actually storing data on Postgres. But Postgres and PostGIS still is the development framework to a lot of the stuff that we do. So we are one of the biggest committers of PostGIS, and we actually do a lot of, we run by one of the biggest clusters of PostGIS servers. Every user that runs on Carto has PostgreSQL with PostGIS on top of it, and we have a strong team maintaining that and ensuring that it's secure, etc. Just to wrap it up, why we are interested on the Urban Computing Foundation. So we got very intrigued with the fact that we think there's a new area right now for collaboration around location intelligence. So I kind of try to describe it like we are on the 4.0 of the open geospatial industry in a way. So I think we've seen, for those of us that have been here for a long time, I think we've seen multiple tries in a way to expand the adoption of open source geospatial and open data around geospatial. And I think right now it's clear that, the way to push this is going to be through industry partnerships. So that's, something that I found very interesting about the Urban Computing Foundation, and that's why we want to be part of it. So I can elaborate a lot more on that. The areas of collaboration that we see, there's a number of projects already. Particularly like Kepler that we are looking at actually leveraging for Carto, particularly around tiling, cartography, data, setting Carto, and a few other things. Maybe for another talk. We think about Carto frames could be an interesting project to contribute. We also have a set of solutions based on some of data providers. We call it Traffico, for example, to work with waste data. And there's connectivity to many of those sources, which we think can also be part of the Urban Computing Foundation. We also think there's value that we can provide around connecting to the community. So I talk about the Spatial Data Science Conference, I think on the last one. We'll be reminding you in another email. But I think we are creating that community of spatial data scientists, which I think is also a big part of the UCF that you guys are looking at. We do a lot of work of evangelization. There's not that many spatial data scientists out there, and for us, it's very, very important to connect to them. So that's also something that we can collaborate a lot. And then coordination on software and data. There's a lot of data providers, data software products, in a way, projects that I think make what is the current modern architecture around location intelligence. I think this could be a great place for coordination around that. And finally, on data and analysis, we have a lot of experience in that for methods for sharing location data, different type of algorithms, methodologies, but also around privacy and regulation. So we have to do a lot around that, which I think might also be a very interesting area. And I think I just don't want to make it much longer. We're truly excited to work with you guys, and if you guys want more specific information about Carto, just let me know. All right.
That was great. Thank you, Javier. Taking the lead role, our first sort of project and community presentation at the Urban Computing Foundation. Just want to open it up to like questions from everybody on the line. See if anybody has some follow-ups, wants to dig in on any of the technical or concept specifics.
I think there's a question around the license. So we try to license everything as much as we can with the BSD license. So that's our overall strategy. Sometimes, like in the case of PostGIS, as you know, it has a different type of license, so we have to just contribute to whatever it is. But our products, the whole platform is BSD.
Question for me, I guess, in terms of like the geospatial analysis algorithms, are they like in the Carto sort of technology stack, are they majority on like a server side, or are some of them also done in the client side in terms of like Carto Explorer, in the web browser, or some combination of both?
No, most of them actually are on server side. So I think, like, for example, I mean, like a classical type of analysis that we have is for twin areas. So typical retailer, like, I think I actually missed one slide. I mean, a typical like customer for you guys to get an idea that we have is a retailer looking at where to sell more solar panels. And we have to actually create a predictive model that will tell us, what is the likelihood of someone to buy them, right? So some of the things for doing this type of predictive models, we create things like, like twin areas type of analysis. And for that, actually, we keep that as part of, like essentially on nowadays, I mean, we just program them on Python notebooks, and then we make them available as algorithms on their own that you can call from within the platform. So you saw in one part of the platform on Builder where there was a list of assistant analysis. We can extend that, and some of those extensions are made, by us. So essentially, they accept inputs and they produce an output. On the client side, it's interesting. I think there hasn't been that much. I mean, it really depends on how you call how do you define analysis, right? Geospatial analysis. There's like one layer which you can call almost almost like geographic type of type of analysis, or I mean like intersections type of. If you look at that, I mean, probably the most advanced library of that is Turf from Mapbox. But those normally we don't call it, analysis on their own. It's just kind of like geospatial operations in a way, right? What we think, it's, I mean, the next layer on that you put on top of it is, for example, when you define something like catchment area. And if you look at, like how a catchment area was done back in the days, was by just creating a buffer around a point. So if you want to know who goes to your store, you will say like, okay, this is, like everybody in 200 meters around my store is potentially my catchment area for customers. Then we went a little bit more sophisticated with the use of things like isochrones. So like, well, anybody that can drive up to 5 minutes is on my catchment area. Now, using some other data sources, I was talking with Vodafone and so on, we can actually create the real catchment area. So a lot of, like some of those functions are now turning into different type of functions powered by data sets behind them. So I think, that's one very interesting approach. And then on top of that, then you have like algorithms that you can use to actually leverage those to create predictive models. Like, for example, we have a pretty good one, for detecting solar panel, because we just happen to have like many customers on that space. So it's different levels. And, as you go more deep on the complexity, it's less likelihood that you can do them on the client and you have to run them on the server. And most of the times because it's where the data is.
Cool. There's one more question. With your whole tech stack being open source, have you, can you speak a little bit to the community? Have you had like external people contribute or fork, or seen that sort of open source ecosystem start to take off around Carto?
In full honest, not on the entire Carlyle platform. And I think, that tells a little bit about, the state of some of the open source projects nowadays, in the sense of, I think, we just probably go to, I mean, we have a team of engineering that they're just advancing, I don't know if too fast, but, they're just advancing a lot on their own. So I wouldn't say too much on actual contributions in terms of features to our Carlyle core product. What we do see is that there's, for example, an interesting Carlyle community actually that made it available for running on scale on the cloud. So users that actually are kind of like contributing that, and they contribute a lot towards, you know, like making Docker images and, you know, and like that's definitely for sure. There's a number of those. There's a number of, you know, like open source users, and they contribute to make, you know, like that happens as easy as possible. Then on the particular kind of like projects, you know, like you think about like something like Carto frames, there, yes, there we have more specific contributions because, you know, like people kind of like find it easier to contribute than in a math kind of like bigger project. But I wouldn't say, I mean, like we have a very strong open source kind of like community of contributors on the main Carto, and there's a bunch of them, but there's not that many.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that kind of matches what we see here with some of our data visualization frameworks at Uber as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that doesn't mean that, you know, like there's a lot of like bug reporting, by the way, probably the same as you. I think, you know, like that's been very, very, very helpful.
Hey, Javier, this is Drew Dara Abrams with Interline, previously Map3. I just wanted to ask a question on, you had mentioned Carto and Waze data connectors for traffic data. I'm just curious to hear a bit more about the software and data components there and what might be open to more open collaboration versus what parts of that do need to stay proprietary on the Waze or the Carto side.
That's a great question. I mean, I don't have a definitive answer to say like this is exactly the rule that we're going to be using on when to open source something or not, because, you know, it really depends on a project by project basis. In the case of Waze in particular, yeah, I mean the connector. So essentially, our connector, if you know the Waze platform has a Waze API that is accessible through a particular program around connected cities. So it's not most of the time, as far as I know, not available for commercial call out usage. It's mostly available for cities that want to call like improve their service and so on. And in that case, then Google, when you become a partner, and we're like a technology partner to Waze in that case, so we enable cities to make use of Waze data. So they expose you an API that is I mean, it's just very, very basic in a way. So it only gives you the feed of data, but then it's all up to you to call like maintain, you know, like an historical data set of it and so on. So in our case, what we developed was a way to call like store all the data in a Carto call like instance, and then we created an interface to call like make, you know, like historical call like queries towards that data visually, and also call like perform certain analysis. How congestion is passing is happening over time in different parts of the city. So some of our customers wanted that, and in that case, we don't see a value for keeping that, you know, like closed source. So we open source entirely, because the value again for us will be to work with the city that, you know, wants to leverage Carto and our knowledge of that to solve a specific problem. So one example that we used that was for the city of Madrid. So they wanted to essentially have a secondary way of measuring how it is traffic changing in different parts of the city. There's a huge project going on in Madrid around closing streets, and they want to see what is the impact that it produces on other streets. So they want to have a monitoring system that could also kind of like validate what they gather through other type of sensors. So so we work with them on that. So I think, you know, like those kind of like building blocks of, you know, you get like Waze data and then you put it into Carto or a Postgres or an Aurora or, you know, a BigQuery, whatever it is and so on. I think those are the areas that I think, you know, like the Urban Computer Foundation should also kind of like, it's this kind of like glue code in a way that is very necessary to a lot of the projects that we do these days, and that is quite expensive to maintain. And I think, you know, could benefit a lot from an open source perspective.
Sounds great. Thanks for that detail. That reminds me so well of the Map3 proposition too, that perhaps access to this Waze data needs to lie with each one of the city customers of Carto, but the glue code, the data engines, could really just be a shared cost across all of the consumers. I'd definitely be glad to follow up separately on that and see if there's any way to make some of that glue code applicable to different data sources. There could be some potential there for, I think, a number of the different orgs involved here.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, this is a great like forum for that, right? So you have like now Uber contributing with the data, right? So then now you have like Waze. It's different types of data, but there's a lot of stuff in common, right? So we had to do a lot of like connectors for all those. So yeah, very glad to actually talk about these things.
Awesome. Thank you again, Javier. That was awesome. Look forward to working with you and continuing the conversation in the future.
All right. So I just want to again, remind everybody, I guess I might screen one more time, about the Spatial Data Science Conference that I talked last time. I think that is a great forum for. Sorry, I should have. It's a great forum to. Sorry. So have I got this before. So there's this conference that we organized on this is the previous year in New York in October, the 16th of October. So we expect around 400 people. There's actually it's a mix between the academia and the private sector. So we're also looking for sponsors, but also for like good speakers. I think the goal in there is to gather like a group of people working on just the data science behind Spatial. It's the third year. It's actually it's been pretty successful. So if you want to have any details, again, we're looking for private sponsors. We'd love to. We got already quite a few of them. But yeah, Spatial Data Science Conference, here it is. And you have like videos and everything and so on. So it will be great to, if you're interested, just ping me about it. Okay.
Yeah, for speaking opportunities there, is there like a period of like call for proposals? Is that sort of open for if speakers are interested? Should they just reach out and contact you directly?
Yeah, so they should just contact. I mean, we have like how you call it, like a committee that is made of. We organize it together with the University of Chicago, and they and we kind of like define and we're going to be defining the content. I mean, we are already kind of selecting. So no, there's not like we're actually cherry picking people that we find like have interesting stories to talk about spatial data science. So if you have like a specific kind of like a story or something that you think is worth, just ping me and I will put you in contact with the person. Examples of the type of presentations last year that we had were, I mean, this year, for example, I know there's going to be one about inequality, calculating inequality. So there's some of them that are more kind of around like census type of demographics. I think, there's going to be likely one from WeWork around, like selecting locations for opening things. There's one probably around, like mobility, about, where to place charging stations, things like that. So it's normally there's one around biodiversity. So overall, the whole idea is, just someone, just bring, like type of like a use case and then go deep into the data science behind it, right? So probably around 80% of the audience is going to be data scientists. That's what we're looking for. Some of them more familiar with the spatial, some of them less familiar. So that's the idea. It's not for promoting products. It's just really just to showcase how spatial data science can be useful to solve a specific problems.
Cool. Excellent. All right. Thanks again. For the sake of time, I do want to move on to our second presenter, Isaac. I see you're on the line. Are you prepared to sort of take over the screen share and talk about Map3?
Yep, love to.
All right. Welcome. Thank you for joining us and presenting today.
Well, thank you for having me. Very pleased to be here. So I don't have a deck. I'm going to just walk through the content through our website to take a developer's journey. So some little bit background by myself. So I've been doing open map and location since my graduate school. So it's been a long time. And I also believe in building for lasting impact. So I always wanted to have a good open map related open source project. And now we have Map3. So let's get started with Map3. In short, it's a decentralized map network. Okay. On the system side, it's a P2P decentralized network for maps. And in the network, it's hosting rich community-generated map contents. It's all sort of layers. It can be the crime map, safety map, the museum map, you name it, all sort of POI. And all these maps data will be served through very strong privacy and trust protocols and with consideration to be compatible with existing map technologies like the leaflets, Mapbox, and it's the whole thing is totally compatible. You can use the tools that you're most familiar with, and with just a plugin, a drop-in plugin of Map3 client to help you to find the peers and route traffic to. That's all about it. Let's talk a little bit more about the design philosophy of Map3. So this is the graph. I'm going to navigate the whole story through the graph. So I think in the last 2 decades, in my summary, the map industry has evolved basically along 2 axes, 2 dimensions. The first will be the map data, and the second will be the map surface. And the underlying keywords of the trend is decentralization, because that fits very nicely with the topology of the map. It's highly distributed, it's very local and very global as well. So with that trend in behind, and every single map version or map dev paradigm transitions is driven by the forces or advancements on these 2 axes as well. So I would, by the way, Map3 is the coin that the term that we coined, just to differentiate different paradigms of maps. And for the first version of maps, I call it the private map. It's basically the map data were generated by the professionals, surveying using purpose-built devices, and the services are majorly hosted by some very big companies. And it's not open enough, too centralized, and then there comes along with many trends. Firstly, on the map data side, is the open map mapping, OSM. It's great, 5 million communities, billions of edits, a very vibrant community. And then we have the mobile phones. We can walk around using our phone to take pictures and to record GPS to make the map, and also the data technologies. And all these 2 trends are actually making map data more accessible and more accessible to individuals or small organizations to have edits. And on the y-axis, the map service axis, a lot of open source GIS stack developed by Leaflet, Mapson, and it covers basically all ranges of map surfaces. And these 2 trends together help making the map more open, not just by the big companies, also startups in the startup spaces. And the data is now curated by a lot of individual communities all over the world as well, as we can see from the growth of the OSM, right? But Map 2.0 open map is, I think, still not enough. It's not open enough. And a lot of underdeveloped places, the map data is not good enough, and the map surface is too centralized, and you would have also the risks like the censorship, etc. And here we have some new trends that I think will push Map 2.0 to Map 3.0, the consensus map. And first, on the map data side, I would say it's a really broader participations of the big companies like Facebook, Uber, and Microsoft. And also some governments are pushing their open data with a government open data license to the OSM. And not just that, we have very good fancy AI mapping technologies. Facebook just released, I think, the map with AI, right? Not long ago. And also Microsoft released the CNTK unified toolkits to, it's actually just machine learning extracting metadata from the aerial imageries to, the Microsoft one is about building footprint, and the map with AI is more on the roads network. Also, Uber also released their movement data set too. So, but on the service side, we have the Empower Edge, a lot of underutilized resources, the smartphones, and also the NAS sitting at home, and also the upcoming mini data stations on the 5G network that is like in proximity to users, fitting to the locality requirement of the spatial services. And the 5G, of course, providing the underlying the communication network. And also the blockchain providing a very powerful consensus protocol to letting these all autonomous agents working together seamlessly together to provide the service in a fair and secure manner. I think all these trends would push, provide a ground to push the map to a new stage, and that's hopefully to be that's also the things that Map3 is trying to do. And we can see along the way the trends as map industry evolves, you would have much more higher level of increasing level of decentralization, which is the cost, and the effect is increasing level of robustness, openness, and efficiency. And if you push this to its maximum, and then you will have the answer of like why Map3, 10x robustness, you will be free from control, and 10x openness, you will be free to participate on all ends. On the supply side, you can host a node, you can publish some map contents, or on the demand side, you can use map services of all kinds. And the 10x efficiency, you would give you like a really powerful, basically really low marginal cost map services, and that would be a very powerful, I think, enabler to more bold, adventurous map services. And with the community donated resources, we can probably provide sufficient free base map for for people to use. I think these all three things together forms the vision of one free map vision, and it's in this document. So I'm not going to talk much more about it, but for the interested readers, you can go check out. And I just talked about a little bit about the value of Map3 as itself. Something like I think Map3 also have huge added value to the urban computing, the ecosystem as well. So first, the robustness. You have the service continuity. You're building something on, you can be sure it would last. It's future. So it's a reliable building block. And openness. I think this part is particularly important because nowadays, in the old times, it's a privilege for the big companies to monetize, to be able to generate and monetize the spatial data. But now with the value network that people can, for example, you have a certain type of maps, and you can publish to the network. And if your access policy is to use by pay, and then it's very easy for the downstream to find your data. For example, if I'm looking for a place to rent on a trip, I'm looking for an Airbnb house, but I'm also concerned with the safety, with the crime rate, and also I want to find some museums in the walking distance. So that in the Map3, you can use just one interface, one unified interface to add these all map layers together and give you a big one. And I'm just talking about three basic, you think you can consider each single map layer as a primitive, right? And I'm just talking about a composition of 2 to 3 primitive. And imagine if we have a marketplace to be able to let this good data serves from itself, from the market mechanism, and the composition of these primitive can possibly create the best map of the world. And that's basically creating map from the other way around, from the every single primitive and the composition of it. And that's, I think, it would encourages data sharing. And I think spatial data of all kinds will be the fuel of other engines like the Kepler or Carto. And so openness encourages data sharing. And the efficiency, I think in the future we will have like a much more data intensive, computation intensive, or latency sensitive applications, spatial applications, AR, or some VR content rendered on the 5G mini data center and HD map. And the network of these devices can form a very efficient way to let the content can be generated, computed, served on the edge. Okay. The communities can actually participate in join the Map3 network on multiple fronts. On the supply side, you can host a node. You can provide some map contents. And on the demand side, you can just use the services. here I'm going to demo on how to host a node. We on the early stage with no much proper promotion, we already have, I think the last time I checked, it's 160 nodes from all over the world just to joining out the network out of goodwill to be a part of it. And you can find it's very simple. Actually, you can also deploy it on Cloud, AWS, on other cloud platforms. So you can also deploy it very native with just one command line. This is a Ubuntu machine on AWS, is a new one. Let's try to do it. Hopefully it doesn't embarrass me. And it's gonna take a few minutes. Let's just get back to what we're talking about. And you can also publish some contents to it. The map store, we have a concept called the map store to let people to find the contents and to use it, right? But now the map store, we don't have a UI for it. we don't have enough people to build a UI for it, but the protocol, it works. So if you want to publish some map content, just contact me. And I think it's still running, downloading the dependencies. We can talk a little bit about how it works as well, right? So it's just very simple description of it. Let me walk it down. First, on the structure side, it's a decentralized network. The nodes can just join the network and discover each in P2P manner, just like BitTorrent. And every single node can register to proxy or cache certain map contents. And over time, the network learns where to distribute this spatial data accordingly to the locality characteristics of the applications. That's like really like maybe the Google ways of like building infrastructure, let the network to evolve, to learn over time, to spatial sharding the data, to giving the right data to the right place. And the Map3 can also be deployed cross platforms. And we are all now we support to build on the Linux machine. And the next stage, I think it will be released in 2 weeks. We can support to deploy on NAS and more. And the users can search and find the map contents and their respective address on the map store. All map data are cryptographically signed by the map owner so that you can easily verify the authentication of it. And the content, if it's private, we have a network. It's called technical scheme to, it's called the proxy re-encryption to re-encrypt the data on the network. So when the data is on network, it's encrypted, but when you use it on the client, it's decrypted. And in order to be compatible to drive growth of the Map3 services, it has to support HTTPS, right? So we enable 2 modes of HTTPS. The first one is keyless architecture. So we never store the private key of the TLS credentials on any node. Instead, it's signed through a remote signing process. It's actually like the CloudFront keyless scheme. Now you can already use the Map3 service through this scheme, and that's I think and it's majorly out of consideration to be compatible with the browsers. Otherwise, it's going to alert you with a non-secure website alert, and this sounds really bad to the new users. And also, you can do the self-sign architecture to generate a self-sign certificate, or you can talk to the Let's Encrypt to get a signed certificate from Let's Encrypt. And on the client side, it's just a drop-in library to basically help you to do all the P2P thing, to talk to the tracker, find the peers, route traffic, etc. And in the future, we may build into some token mechanics into it. Basically, so the Map3 data, if you know how to serve the data, you need to cryptographically sign the data as well. So it's very easy to do a fraud proof. That's why you can if you want to be a node and you want to earn token in the future by providing higher level of SLA services, then you can stake some tokens into it and earn token on every single transactions services. And if you behave bad, doing bad services, fake data, people can easily prove it on the blockchain, and you can confiscate your stake. But that's a remote plan. let's get back to what we're doing now. So it's still deploying. So on the who's using this? So we talked about over 100 people hosting our nodes just out of goodwill to try out, to giving feedback for now. And we built another app. It's called the Titan. You can find it on the Google Play. It's an app. Basically, it's a total privacy preserved map. The location never leave your phone. The way to do this is to build all the features to make it offline. So the cool thing is this. The best kind of user of Map3 is that you can play two roles at the same time. You can be the supply side and demand side. And if you download Titan and Titan downloads offline map, it caches on your phone. And potentially, it can become the node, the server of another phone. And together they can form a really big edge network using the phone resources. And 5G is going to, when 5G comes to network, it's going to be really cheap, right? So you're welcome to download and try it too. It has other very cool, like a cryptographic secure. What we call is cryptographic location sharing. You can share your location with others in encrypted text, and nobody can see. No single platform, like a medium, can see your message. So you're welcome to try it. And that's also a window for us to demonstrate. It's already building on Map3 services. And by the way, I think like nowadays, like with routing engines like Valhalla, just static tile data can let us go a really long way. A lot of functions going to be totally offline because most of map computation is going to be actually very simple and the data is small. And here is some testimonial from partners. So it's basically people with experience in locations and cloud technologies. We are actively seeking their advices on how to build a Map3 better and how to grow it better. Let's see if they have that.
This is great, Isaac. I just want to jump in with a time check. We have about 6 minutes left and want to leave time for people to ask some questions while that demo.
Okay. So the roadmap now, like the roadmap is depending on the growth plan. And growth plan is we need to grow the two sides, the supply and demand side alternatively. And the first stage is to open participation. Now that anyone can run a node, can use the service. The first stage is done. And the second stage, we call the fault tolerance. We're going to build more P2P features into network to let it grow faster and to be more robust. And with that later down, I believe a lot of like free resources is going to open for the public to use. And then we'll build the third stage called the balanced incentive to let people to do it out of some incentive for quality services. And then after that, we may have a sustainable growth. And you can also find out the governance, term of conduct, things like here. You can read after that. And it's an early stage project, but we are growing. And let's see if that node is working. It's working happily. So you can also have a dashboard built on InfluxDB and Grafana. You can see the resources, the activities, things like that. If you're try to cache more tiles, hopefully you can find the changes of your tiles. It's going to cache a lot of tiles. So you can play with it and give us feedback. That would be very important. And I think that's basically about it. The last thing is like I really hope to work with the Linux Foundations on the multiple fronts. The first is on the project itself to be a better open source project to tag the architecture, the people, the developers, right, the cultures. And the second thing will be to help grow the ecosystems on both the supplies and demand side. Let's say Facebook and Uber is going to have some AB traffic, 5% of traffic, go try on hosting some node or using 5% of the map user traffic to the Map3. That will be hugely helpful. And the third part will be together we can try to active the very vibrant OSM communities to make the project better. And I think that's about it. And thanks for your time, and hope to get get some questions from you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Isaac. I have one question to kick off the questions. Can you talk a little bit about the use of OpenStreetMap data, like the sort of the licensing of data and how that works with Map3 in relation to Map3?
So the first version of we have a base map, a base vector map. We have a pipeline to consolidate many open geospatial data and to generate a very lean, usable map for people to use on the first stage. But that's for the base layers. And for the data license for the paid service proprietary map contents, we are still working on sorting out the license part. But for the open data, it should be fine.
Other questions from the community?
Yeah, but we would really love to talk to people who are interested in hosting our nodes and use it at the same time. That's like just like the BitTorrents. It's better to, when you use it, you grow it.
Cool. Yeah, this seems really impressive, and I love the vision that you've outlined in terms of and the benefits. So I think there's probably lots of opportunity. Like we should talk more about if you're interested in like formal proposal about this project, joining the Urban Computing Foundation potentially. Also, you mentioned just working with the Linux Foundation. We've got lots of sort of subject matter experts and people within the Linux Foundation here who can probably help with that.
Actually, I've drafted a proposal to the UCF about a project. I'm going to send it to the group, and I really hope to enroll into the program to be a part of it. And to
Awesome.
grow together. Yeah, I will just send it to group.
Great.
So if anyone got any question, you can also send a private message to me. I'm going to leave you guys the email.
Cool. Yeah, I think in a future meeting, if you have a formal proposal like this, then it'll be part of our open governance process will be have the members of the TAC committee review and have like a formal vote on this. So, and then also, if any of the TAC members who viewed this have feedback on this and or like the proposal, that's also sort of part of our process of kind of reviewing and sort of assessing these. So we can send out some follow-ups there.
Okay, cool. I will send you some emails to follow up. But I expect I need to change it a little bit to make the project better. Hopefully, I want to catch up with the next tech meeting. Maybe.
That sounds great. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, bear with us. You're sort of our first official project proposal, so we're sort of walking through some of the formalities of our project proposal process. Thank you again for coming and presenting. Really cool technology and great project.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just to wrap up the meeting, we're about at time. Great project presentations from Carto, Map3. Thank you, Javier and Isaac. Just a quick run through of like upcoming conferences and bookkeeping. We've got 2 Linux Foundation conferences coming up, the Open Source Summit North America in San Diego. There's a proposal, or I'm proposing that we reschedule our TAC meeting to be on Thursday, August 22nd. So if anybody has feedback about that, let me, please contact me, but I'll send out some details on that. The Open Source Summit in Europe, we have like the Urban Computing track for that Linux Foundation Open Source Summit has come together nicely. We have 2 days worth of talks around urban computing, and also a final plug for that Spatial Data Science Conference that Javier mentioned in New York City in mid-October as well. Okay, we're getting kicked out of our room, but thank you, everybody. Thanks all members of the community and Technical Advisory Committee, and I'll send out some updates for our meeting next month.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.